Good morning, Phenomenals. It's Wendy Jacobs here with a quick video message. Guys, I just felt really inspired to make this quick video for you guys this morning because of a comment that was just left on a post that I put up there. So thank you always for your interaction, because what you share, what you write, what you post really does help so many other people, because I assure you that what you're going through, what you're feeling, what your challenges are not just your own. These are challenges that most of us have faced at least one time in our lives in the past, are currently experiencing now, or likely to experience again in the future. So this also stems from a conversation that I started having with a friend last night as well. And what that is what happens when love turns to hate, or when bitterness starts to seep through at the end of a relationship between you and your former partner. It's a very common occurrence, and there are things that you can do to help shift that energy, okay? So often at the end of a relationship, things are really challenged, right? But really what's going on is that there is a separation. I want you to think of this as energy, because this is really how I like to describe things these days. So the feeling of love is the feeling of unity. It's the feeling of us coming together and being as one. And when a breakup happens, essentially what that experience is the feeling of fragmentation, the feeling of separation, which causes a lot of pain. Intellectually, we justify that emotional experience through many, many ways. And one of the ways that often people find themselves doing is through attacking one another. Attack and defense, attack and defense. It's this interaction, this dynamic of, feeling so helpless and so hurt that stepping up into anger actually feels a little bit empowering, rather than feeling depressed and in despair and hurt and broken. A lot of people, before they actually find themselves able to fully forgive and release and let go and gain the true gifts of that relationship, need to first go through a phase of anger, a phase of, feeling that hurt. And that often shows up with people being quite nasty to each other in their words and in their actions. So I want to give you guys a tip today to help you if you're going through this, okay? So everything is energy, and everything is communication. I want to remind you that the words that we speak out loud only forms 7% of our communication, which means the other 93% of communication is happening internally within us. And it shows up in our gestures, in our tone of voice, in our body language, in our pauses, our tonality, the volume, the timbre. You can say one thing like a million different ways, right? And it can be received so many different ways. So it's not the words that you're using, guys. It's the energy that they're coming from. And I'm going to use the word emotion interchangeably with energy. So it's the emotion that you're coming from. So I like to use an example to make this clear for you. Shut the door, right? Shut the door can be said so many different ways. We can yell, shut the door, right? And it has a very different energy to shut the door, or shut the door, or you get the idea, right? It's the energy that we come from that influences the communication that is expressed, but also how it's received. And so at the end of a relationship, a lot of the communication that needs to happen and that does happen is coming from an energy of hurt or an energy of anger, which I'm going to remind you is just an empowering way to step out of despair and out of hurt. I promise you it's not anything personal if you're feeling this way, but a resource that we have within ourselves, an emotional resource to come out of despair to a more empowering feeling of anger, which is where we are before we can get to the place of forgiveness and everything else. And from this place, we're communicating. And so our communication has an energy about it. And that energy, right, of anger is not received so well by the person that's on the opposing end, and often leads to them either attacking back with anger or defending or withdrawing. But really at the end of the day, it's not giving you the unity, the feeling of unity that you're after. It's creating more separation, more pain, more anger, anxiety, angst, whatever you want to call it. It does not feel good. And many of you may be struggling in this space and be wondering, well, what do I do? How do I change this? I can't help how I'm feeling. I'm really hurt. I'm really angry. Or he's so damn nasty to me. You should hear how he speaks to me. How am I supposed to feel loving? Okay? I'm going to help you guys. This is what I'd like you to try out this week. I'd like you to spend some time in quiet meditation. I want you to go internal. Okay? Everything is energy, and everything stems from an internal communication that we're having. So sometimes we think that because the person that we're in relationship with is not hearing or feeling or seeing the thoughts that we have about them and our relationship, that they don't know about it, that somehow it doesn't influence them. But it does, because everything is energy. And the moment you start having these types of thoughts and internal dialogues and whatever with yourself, I assure you that that is going to be influenced in the external communication that you're going to have with your former partner, right? So you can use this to your benefit. And how you can do that? You can go internal and start having more loving, more peaceful, more understanding, accepting, and forgiving conversations. But how do you do this authentically? Because I'm not asking you to be fake in any ways. You know, you're going to have to go through this process of experiencing the depths of all the emotions that come up after a breakup to truly heal from it. So we're not going to emotionally bypass. I'm giving you a strategy to help you improve your communication. I'm just going to turn the volume off this so it doesn't beep in this video again. Oops. There we go. So I'm going to give you a strategy that's going to help you out. And here's the strategy. All change is, all shifts are, is a change in perception or a shift in perception. All a miracle is a shift in perception. When we have a change in the way that we feel or experience something, it's because we now look at it differently. So think of something in your past which at one time was so devastating that you really thought that you would never get through it. And today, as you look at that situation through a different lens, through a different filter, your feelings about it have changed. And that's because your perceptions have changed. So I'm going to encourage you to have a different perception here. And this is what's going to help you through your healing process after a breakup. The way to do that is, as I said, I want you to go internal, but I want you to call on your higher self. So to do that, I want you to spend a couple of minutes just breathing through your heart center. Put your hand on your heart. And just breathe in and out through your heart center deeply for 2 minutes. After doing this for 2 minutes, what you find will happen is that your brain waves and your heart waves will come into alignment, and you will be in a much better way, in a much better space to actually do this exercise that I'm going to describe. So once you feel as though you've connected with your heart, I just want you to just continue breathing in and out. So imagine yourself breathing in love, in the energy of love, and breathe out the energy of love. Breathe in love and breathe out love. Because I want to remind you also at this point that all pain is love withdrawn. The moment you withhold or withdraw your love is the moment you feel pain in your relationships and in your life. So if you connect with your heart and you continue to breathe in and out the feeling of love, perhaps even focusing on things that make you feel that feeling of love, so it's easier to do, then you'll start to find that you get reconnected with your heart again, rather from a horrible place of anger. Now, once you're there, I want you to call on your higher self. Close your eyes and call on your higher self. And then I want you to call on the higher self of your former partner. Take a moment to breathe into this and really notice when you sense that shift, when you sense that there is an energy of your higher self and an energy of your higher partner that has come together. And when that happens, I want you to take some time to have a loving conversation. Take some time to say the things that you've been wanting to say, the things that you guys have been challenged with in your relationship after the breakup. I want you to use this moment in your higher state to talk about those things, to talk about the challenges, the hurts, your heartbreak, what you're feeling, your fears, anything that comes up. And then give your partner the opportunity to do the same and really listen to them. Let this conversation go on for as long as it needs to be until you start to feel an internal shift. And what I mean by that is that you start to feel a change in your emotional state. When that starts to happen, you know that there's a shift that is starting to happen. Continue to have this loving conversation. Sometimes when you're really challenged, you may have to call in the inner child of yourself and the inner child of your former partner. Now, what this is just an internal, energetic representation of the two of you as wounded children. When you do this, for some of us, it's easier to connect in that place because we can accept the hurt of a child more than we can an adult. So see the hurt of the child in your former partner and see the hurt in yourself as a child. Bring those two energies together and have that higher conversation. Give yourself the love, give yourselves the love, the understanding, the compassion, the kindness that you really yearn. Practice this exercise daily. Do it as frequently as you need to. At the end of a breakup, you might find yourself having a lot of bitter thoughts and conversations and ideas. Use this exercise as much as you can and notice how it starts to shift the way that you start to communicate internally, and as a result, the external communication that you're now having with your partner will also start to shift. The process of healing after heartbreak is multi-layered. There are many facets. You're going to have to learn to let go, to forgive, real forgiveness, the forgiveness of yourself and your partner, create a new life, get the lessons learnt. One of the greatest things I've learned is to learn the unconscious patterns that have created troubles in your relationships. There are so many gifts at the end of a relationship, and the healing process is one that is well worth its journey. Otherwise, I promise you guys, what you will find, and many of you already know this, is that you will just take the same patterns into the next relationship and into the next, and it's like different faces, same experience, same. And often you can start to think, wow, are all relationships like this? No, they're not. The work is internal. The work is coming from you. When you make the shifts that are necessary to not only heal, but to resurrect and create a brand new, loving, empowering relationship, your life will shift in the most magical ways. And what you find is that all that you have desired just starts to naturally manifest as you start to live and embody the energy of love a lot more unconsciously. I hope this video has been helpful for you guys, and as always, live consciously and filled with love. Have a beautiful day.